Hey nerds, what's up? Today's video is going to be my June wrap up, and this was the worst reading month for me as far as actually reading goes, like the amount of pages and all that stuff, but I did read some really good books this month, so I also DNF'd a book. It was kind of like a mismatch. Let's get into my stats and just get right on into it. So also, just so you know, I can't hear correctly because I'm sick, and yeah, it's really weird. I can't hear. It feels like I'm underwater. Just so you know what's going on in my life, that's what's happening. So, stats. So I had 6 books on my TBR this month, and of those 6 books, I read 3 of them, and then I also read 1 more book, and I DNF'd 1 book. So 4 books in a month for me is like, it's technically right on par with what I want to be reading because I have 52 books on my Goodreads goal, so that's 1 book a week for the year. So 4 books in a month, that's about a book a week. But I feel like I'm getting behind because there's just always so many books that I want to read. I read 2 adults and 2 young adults. Perfect, half and half between those young adults and adult books. I love that for me. And then I read 1 contemporary and 3 fantasy novels, so high on the fantasy. The book I DNF'd was a young adult, new adult, and it was a dystopian sci-fi, I would say. All of the books that I read this month were on audio because I have been really struggling with like finding time to sit and read. Part of that is because I've been sick this month for the last like 2 weeks, and I just haven't been feeling very well, so I've been watching a lot of like TV and just chilling and not doing anything. So I'm hoping to like feel better and then be able to want to read more. Of the books that I read, I gave 2 of them 4 stars and 2 of them 5 stars. So like the books that I read I really enjoyed, I just didn't read that much, and I had the DNF, which obviously I didn't like that much because I DNF'd it. And in total I read 1,842 pages, which is the lowest amount of pages that I've read in a month so far this year. So like I said, not so great on the amount of books I read, but the books that I read I really enjoyed. So let's get into what I read this month. Starting with my DNF, I was gifted The Hierophant's Daughter by M.F. Sullivan in exchange for an honest review, and unfortunately, like, this just is not the book for me, I think, or maybe it's just not the book for me right now. I got about 50 pages in, which is, I was not finding the story like captivating. I was finding myself not wanting to pick this up, and so I decided to put it down so that I could read something that I did want to read. Obviously I didn't finish either because this is the only book that I tried to read physically all month. I'm in the middle of another book that I'll get into in my TBR video, but yeah, so like, I don't know, this book has a really interesting plot story, which is why I said I was interested in it. It's about a futuristic world where this guy called the Hierophant is like maybe an alien come to Earth, and he like created this kind of cult thing, and he also created this like immortality thing for people, but in order to be immortal you have to be kind of a vampire, you have to drink blood of humans, and so like there's this like power dynamic and also like hate towards each other between these 2 like sects of humans. And it's about the daughter of the Hierophant rebelling against him and like wanting to take him down. So like super interesting plot story, but I was just finding that the politics of it were kind of confusing to me, and I think it just wasn't the story for me right now. So I'm not saying that I'll never pick this up again, I might, but right now it's not what I want to be reading. So yeah, the plot though sounds interesting, so there's that. The next book that I read this month was Cersei by Madeline Miller. Technically I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but on Goodreads I landed it on a 4 because it was a high 3.5. Greek mythology retelling of Cersei, who was a Titan, I believe, or like the daughter of a Titan, and she gets like thrown out because she turns her sister into some monster, and then she gets put on this island and she can't leave, and like it's just all about her life, and it was good. I think it was a little bit detrimental to me to be listening to this audiobook rather than reading it physically because I found that the story was just like a little bit long. Because it's so long form, it was like, wait, am I forgetting something? Because I feel like I retain information better when I read it versus when I listen to it. So when it's such a complicated story, I probably should have read this physically. And I probably will reread this eventually because I did like the idea of it, but I found myself a little bit confused by it, so that's why I landed on a 3.5. The next book that I read was Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schuldt. I was given this unsolicited by Penguin, so thank you very much for sending this to me. This was a surprisingly good book. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did. This book is about this queendom, where there's 4 different queens who take care of the 4 different places, but then all together they stay in like the capital, and they reign over the whole queendom together while keeping those 4 different places like in the front of their mind kind of thing. And there's a girl named Carolee who gets this information that there is going to be an attack on the 4 queens, and so she is trying to stop it. This book like read like a historical fiction, but the story was more science fiction than fantasy in my opinion. So that was like an interesting take. I've never really read something that was like historical fiction at the same time as being science fiction. I thought it was really interesting. I can't really like go into why it's science fiction because that's the whole plot. It was really good. I really liked it. And something I've never read before, like the idea behind it. I felt like it was a really unique story. I enjoyed. Lots of girls. There's LGBTQ stuff and things like that in it too. So that's always nice to see. Next book I read was Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. This is the 3rd book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. Me and Catriona and Red are reading these and doing live shows on them. This one was live showed on my channel, so I'll link that up in the cards above. And then we are also going to be reading Night of Cake and Puppets soon, July 12th, I think, at 7 p.m. PST. So yeah, if you want to check that out, it'll be a fun time. But I read this. This was a reread for me. I listened to it on audiobook. I love this story. I love these characters. All I have are good things to say. Read these if you haven't read them yet. Laini Taylor's writing is amazing. Lastly, I picked up the audiobook of Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I picked this up on a whim because I didn't have any more audiobooks to listen to this month, and I just have been itching for this, so I picked it up and I read it and I loved it. All of the characters are amazing. One of my favorite books of the year. I love it so much. So good. This is a book about an alternate reality where a woman wins the presidency in 2016. They're all fictional characters, and her son falls in love with the Prince of Wales, which is part of the English aristocracy or whatever. They fall in love and it's cute. It's kind of like a hate to love trope, and I really liked it. It was very cute. Yeah. It was so cute. Those are all the books that I read this month in June, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I make videos every Thursday and Saturday, but this month is going to have a lot of videos coming up because the Bibliothon is coming up. So there's like a video every other day kind of. If you want to be notified every time I post a video, you can hit that little notification bell, and you can also always follow me on all my social media. They're all linked down below in the description box. I'll see you guys very soon with a new video. Bye!